Hello friends, welcome back, or if you're new, hi, how are ya? So today we are tackling something that I have been putting off for quite some bit. Yeah, it's kind of a problem. So basically, I have a lot of books, okay? Comparatively to other people, I don't have that many books. I don't have like a library full of books. Not to say that's an issue, but personally for me, I feel like the ratio of read to unread books is kind of high. So I think for me to get a better sense of that and to officially kickstart my challenge to read my physical TBR officially, we're gonna just track all the books that I physically own, see how many books that I've read and haven't read, and then just have it on like a digital catalog because I've bought a scanner that they use at libraries and stores and stuff to scan books. So I'm going to scan it into a digital database and you'll see me scan through all of them. And then I'll go through all the stats of all the books that I own in total, as well as how many books that I have not read, which I'm going to guess it's a lot. And then how we're going to move forward with the challenge. I think it'll be interesting to say the least. And I think it'll be good overall, especially for me as an ADHD girly who forgets that I own half the things that I own. So to have it digitally and to have it always with me. So when I'm out shopping, not that I forget all the books that I have, but like when I'm out shopping, I can keep track of the books that I have, but also similar books, like similar vibes. So yeah, I'm not on an official book buying ban, but I have been trying to not buy books this year. I've only gone book shopping this year like twice, and I've gotten like maybe like 4 books each time. So 8 books total. I don't know the exact number. Don't quote me on that. And then I get the Fairy Loot book subscription for the adult fantasy books. That's literally the only time that I get a book, which is like once per month. And you can rip my Fairy Loot subscription out of my cold dead hands because it was already tough enough to get on the list because I've been on that wait list for quite some time. So I will not stop that. Even if I go on a future book buying ban, I will never cancel that subscription unless like something astronomical happens. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in terms of buying books. So it's not like a problem per se, but I would like the ratio of read to unread books to be a lot lower, especially since my goal for my personal library, whether or not I eventually get to like 1,000 books, which is technically considered a library, but my ultimate goal with my personal book collection is to have books that I can stand by, that I really love and adore. And if anybody were to ever come through and be like, hey, what book do you have that you can recommend me? I know exactly what to recommend them based on me reading them, as well as me being able to vouch for them. And then also knowing the person, of course. So that's where I'm at right now. Stay tuned. It'll happen in like a second for you. But let me just gather my thoughts and prayers to start this journey to literally go through all of this. Also, this is probably the time for you to guess how many books you think I have. I'm going to guess around like 400 something books, maybe. And then I'm going to guess maybe like 200 of them are probably unread. So I have scanned all of my books. It's been a couple days since I've last seen you guys, but they are all scanned to the best of my abilities. And I gotta say, if you guys are gonna do this for yourself in your own personal library, I guess depending on which book database that you're gonna use, I think it's called like Libib. I don't know, but it's Libab. I use that because it's free. And most of the books you were able to scan and it was able to recognize it, but some of them they did not recognize. So if you guys have like a lot of like special edition books, at least for Fairy Loot, some of them did not register at all. So I had to manually put those in or manually find the ISBN numbers and then just change the covers on there. Also, if you're a big comic person, you might have some difficulty with that. None of my single issue comics I was able to scan at all. Like it did not recognize it at all. And finding the ISBN number for that is kind of hard. I did not have any success with that, minus like maybe one issue. So I had to manually input all the information. So like the title, author, publisher, and all that stuff. And then you have the option to put in a photo, but I was lazy, so I did not do that. Maybe eventually I will, because this is going to be like an ongoing process, of course. Those are some caveats, some problems that I've run into while doing this whole process. I mean, overall, it was fine. It was good, but that's just something to note if you guys are planning on doing this as well. So I wanted to give you guys a total stat of everything that is happening. And then after this, I will be showing you guys all the books that I have not read, where we're going to go with this whole TBR takedown challenge, or whatever I end up calling it. I was very wrong about the amount of books that I thought I would have. So I have a total of 237 books, which is almost half of what I thought it was going to be. So it's 237 books. If you guys got close to that, if you guys ended up guessing, then congratulations. I don't have anything to give you, but you can give yourself a pat on the back for guessing correctly. And then also the total amount of books that I have not read is 88. So it's a lot less than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be like at least half of the books were going to be books that I have not read. But a couple things is that I didn't include all of the comics, because some of the comics I wasn't really sure if I read them or not, and they weren't on Goodreads. So regardless, I'm gonna probably reread them anyways, so I didn't include them in the unread list. And then also with the total amount of books, I do have duplicate copies of certain books. So the Emily Henry books, I have the special edition copies as well. And then if it came out in paperback and hardcover, I also have both of those copies, just because Emily Henry is currently one of my favorite authors of all times. So I just like getting the special editions for that, especially since like not only is she like one of my favorite authors of all time because of her writing, but she's also one of the authors, like her book Beach Read is one of the ones that actually got me back into reading, not just getting back into reading, but like enjoying reading for the first time in a long time. So a lot of emotional, sentimental value for me when it comes to her books. So I just want to celebrate that by getting the special editions and all of that good stuff. So those are the basic stats. I don't really have a breakdown because it doesn't really show the breakdown on Libib, like the genres of all the books that I have and like how many are copies or anything. I wish there was more stats around that. We gotta do with what we will. I'm really happy though that it's only 88 out of 200, and I think it was like 37. Yeah, 88 out of 237. Not the best, but 88 books in the TBR takedown challenge. And I'm just gonna show you guys all the books that I have not read so far and are gonna be included in this upcoming series challenge sort of situation. Never Let Me Go. I initially picked this up because I thought I was gonna do a whole video series where I read celebrities' books that they've said they like or were seen reading. And I mean, I could still do the video, but I just don't want it to be like I'm judging them, because I feel like we shouldn't really be judging people and what they be reading unless it's like super sus, but like everybody has their own book taste, and I just felt like weird judging and critiquing that. So that's why I quickly stopped this video idea. I think I literally only did one of them, and I think it might be private at this point. I mean, I also heard this author is great, so I mean, I'm gonna read it regardless. Sally Rooney, Intermezzo. I love chess, like books about chess, media about chess, so of course I picked this up. And now that I've reread Normal People, I'm super excited to get into it. Disorientation. Honestly, I bought this a few years ago when I was working this one job. It was very close to Barnes & Noble, unfortunately for my wallet. So I ended up buying a lot of books. This seemed interesting, and also the cover was pretty. So I got it. Hamnet. This is being adapted, so I definitely want to get to this soon, but I've heard nothing but great things about this. So it's been on my radar for quite some time now. Big Swiss. This is also one of those where I saw it when I was on my lunch break and I picked it up because I've heard things about it. Like people were talking about it during that time, and also the cover seemed interesting. Normal People, the scripts. I really love this show, so of course I had to pick up the scripts. I've used some of these scenes for acting class purposes, so that was super helpful, but I just want to read it through because I love reading scripts, especially scripts for shows and movies that I love. Black Swan. I've heard nothing but great things about Eve Babbitt's writing, so I picked it up. I have no context for what this is about, so I guess we'll be both surprised whenever I read it. This is Summer Bird Blue. I adore Akemi Don Bowman. Her book Starfish is one of my favorite books of all time. So of course I had to pick up this book when I saw it at Barnes & Noble, and I still haven't gotten around to it. Honestly, am I low-key a little bit avoiding it because I might be crying in the club? Yeah, I might, but I don't know that for sure. I'm just scared because of Starfish because it really resonated with me and it made me cry in the club very hard. The Summer We Crossed Europe in the Rain. I got this when I was in Japan this past year, like in 2024. And yeah, this is, of course, by a Japanese author. The cover looked really cool, and it's an author of Never Let Me Go. And so because I saw that and I saw the cover and it was at a bookstore, I was like, might as well. I know he's like a very beloved and acclaimed author, so I trust the vibes. My Year of Rest and Relaxation. This was like really big on Book Talk and BookTube for quite some time, like a few years ago. So I got it during the hype. Have I read it since then? No, I haven't. I should. And I will eventually, but here it is. We have Less, which is a book that a few people I've seen called it like modern day classic. So I picked it up because it was during the time that I was trying to get into classics, but I never got around to it. So here we are. Zen and the Art of Archery. This is one of the books that my acting teacher always recommends us read. And I got it finally like a few months ago and I just never got around to reading it. But I did start it and I'm hoping to finish it sometime soon. All About Love by Bell Hooks. This is a book that a lot of people have read and always recommend. It's nonfiction, I believe. I just have not gotten around to it. I feel like it's just one of those books you have to be in the mood for, and I just have not been in the mood for that. Just Kids. This is a very beloved book by a lot of people. Again, I picked this up for the Reading Like a Celebrity reading series that I was originally going to do years ago when I first started the channel, and I just stopped doing it. This was for Andrew Garfield, I believe, and I don't know. Voodoo Queen, which is a story, I think autobiography about Marie Laveau, and she's like a very famous voodoo queen, and I learned a little about her when I went to New Orleans for my birthday a few years ago on this tour that I went on, and like I was super intrigued by her life and like the impact that she's made in New Orleans, so I decided to pick it up. There's Little Women, which I'm sure I've read when I was younger, but honestly I don't remember a single thing because it's been so long. So I want to reread this, especially since I really love the movie. So it's definitely on my radar. I've heard it's great to read during like the winter holiday season. So that's maybe what I'll do. We'll see. There's Arsatang, which I got this in Korea, and I think it's called like Magic Candy in English. It's a picture book that won a bunch of awards, and I got it because I don't really have picture books like that, and like the photos in here are like super stunning, like the graphics itself. So I thought it would be a good time to pick it up because I was in Korea, and this is a Korean book, so might as well. Lord of the Flies. Technically, I did read this in high school, and I do remember the basic plot of it all, but I do want to reread it since I got this really cool edition when I went to go film for this co-star that I booked. So yeah, it looks cool. I think it's good to reread classics, and I'm trying to do my best to get back into classics, but it's been tough because I have not been in the mood, but I will definitely get into this. The Essential Roomie. I originally got this because one of the booktubers that I watched back during like 2020, like I started watching her then, she was like really into this poetry book and I was trying to get into poetry. So I was like, might as well just get it. So I need to read this, but it just hasn't been top priority, honestly. All right. I actually have 2 editions of Wuthering Heights, but I'll show you the prettier cover because the other one is just the Penguin Classic one. I really want to read Wuthering Heights, especially because of the trailer. I've heard that it's very questionable, but I heard that the story itself is very good and very juicy, and one of my favorite books this year, which is The Favorites. It's apparently based on Wuthering Heights, so I definitely want to read it sometime this year. There's Emma. So I picked up Emma because I am trying to give Jane Austen a chance. I think it's just one of those cases where I was not in the right mental space to be reading it originally, because I originally read Pride and Prejudice and it completely just like fell out of my brain because I was just not that intrigued by it. But I think it was definitely time and place. It was during the time that I was getting back into reading and I probably did not appreciate it at the time. It's definitely very controversial on another video of mine on another channel. Because of that, I picked up Emma because I really like the movie and it will help me give me some context with the book, I think. hopefully, fingers crossed. There's the Odyssey, which I picked up to prep for Catabasis, but honestly, I'm probably not going to read this before I read Catabasis. So I'm just going to read this eventually. Maybe I'll read it after Catabasis, but definitely still a classic that's good to have. So I'm not mad that I'm not going to read it to prep for Catabasis, because apparently you don't really need to prep for Catabasis, so it's fine. Inferno by Dante, same deal as Odyssey. I mean, I'm not going to read it before Catabasis. I'm going to read it eventually, but not before Catabasis. Technically, I read this in high school, but I definitely want to reread it. So I'm including it here, which is Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare. Definitely good to get into Shakespeare, especially if you are an actor. Hamlet, I have not actually read, so I definitely do need to read it. And then the Korean version of Percy Jackson. I got it originally so that I could practice reading in Korean, but I just never got around to it, and now it's just sitting on my shelf. But I do need to, but it's very intimidating, not gonna lie. But this is the perfect book to do that, since I am like conversationally fluent in Korean, but reading it is a little bit tougher for me. So this will definitely help me with that, I think, hopefully. House of Hollow, which I forget which booktuber that put me onto it, but this was like back in 2021. So I picked it up. The cover is really pretty, and I heard it's more psychological thriller than horror. So that's why I picked it up. Have not read it yet. Probably should, because it's spooky season, but we will see. A Magic Steeped in Poison. Pick this up. Cover's super pretty. It's fantasy. I think it's YA fantasies. And I think during that time people were talking about it. I don't quite remember, to be honest with you guys. The Color of Dragons. So a little side story. There was this girl in my acting class that me and her used to exchange some books for like a very brief time. Like literally we exchanged like 1 or 2 books, and this is the second book that she exchanged to me, and we would just like talk about it for a little bit. But things got a little weird with that class in general, so I ended up not going anymore. But I haven't returned this to her, and I feel really bad. But maybe one of these days I will just offer to mail it to her or something. I don't know. A Crane Among Wolves. I saw this on the new release list, I think last year, and it seemed really intriguing. So I definitely want to read it, but I haven't gotten around to it. So story of my life. Blood Like Magic. This is by Lyselle Sandberry. She's on YouTube, like on AuthorTube, and I originally saw her AuthorTube videos, and she was talking about this, and I was super excited. So I ended up getting it. Have I read it since then? No, it's been years, and I should, but I haven't. I'm sorry. How It Feels to Float. Years ago, an old friend recommended this book. Honestly, I started it like last year and I was not into it, so I soft DNF'd it. Maybe eventually I will get into it, but it's not top priority since I have read like a chapter and I wasn't really into the writing style. Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I originally picked this up because on TikTok she pitched this as like Cleopatra and Mark Anthony, I think, retelling. So I got it because I was intrigued by that. I ended up reading part of it, soft DNF'd it because I wasn't really into it. Maybe I'll go back to it. But again, not top priority because I know the sense of the writing style and that's just not what I am in the mood for right now. The Maidens. I picked this up years ago. This isn't a top priority for me just because I've heard very mixed opinions about this since I've gotten it. So I'm like a little bit worried I'm not going to like it, but story of my life, I guess. Okay. Book of Night. As you can see by the tabs, I did start reading this, but I soft DNF'd it because I think at the time that I was reading it, I was just reading too many books and I was like, yeah, I don't have the time and mental capacity to dedicate to this. So I'm going to soft DNF it and get back to it later. So that's what I'm going to do. We have You, which is the book that the show is based on. And I originally got this because I wanted to do research on a book that I was working on in terms of perspective and that kind of stuff and what that would look like for someone like this. I still need to read it to help me with that research. But yeah, writing has been taking a backseat, unfortunately. So hopefully we can get back into that in 2026 or at least the end of this year. And if you guys are interested in seeing some like writing vlogs, let me know. And I could definitely include that on this channel as well. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I picked this up years ago. Honestly, I picked this up when I had no knowledge of which books to read first from him. So this has just kind of been sitting on my shelf since then. And also, I still don't know what order I should be reading things in. So because of that, and because it seems a little bit daunting, I just have not gotten around to any of the Brandon Sanderson books. I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. This is a book that I've heard a lot about in 2022, 2023. So I picked it up when I was in Korea. Still have not read it. Definitely want to. Beasts of a Little Land. It's by a Korean author. Honestly, seemed intriguing. At this point, I don't remember what it's about. Concerning My Daughter. I picked this up when I was in Toronto, and I think this was one of the books that was recommended by the booksellers in Toronto since I couldn't really find a Toronto book. So this is what I picked up instead. Skinship Stories. I believe this is a collection of short stories by this Korean author. Not too sure, but I picked it up because I like getting books from Korean authors. YN. This is supposed to be about like basically stan culture kind of. So I was really intrigued by that. The cover is super beautiful. So yeah, intrigued. Oh Beautiful, which is another book by a Korean author. I think I got this because it gave me like Minari vibes. So definitely need to read it because I love Minari. The Tatami Galaxy seemed really intriguing. So I got it. This is Almond, which is the Korean translation of it. And I got this when I was in Korea. Am I going to read this anytime soon? Let's be so for real. Probably not because it's in straight up Korean, but a girl can dream. A magical girl retires. Love the cover. And yeah, Pachinko. I got this originally because I heard the series was getting adapted. I still haven't read it. I'm sorry. But the series, season 1 at least, super good. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interior Chinatown. I've heard nothing but great things about this, especially because the format is a bit unique. Just haven't gotten around to it. Night Sky with the Exit Wounds. I really like Ocean Vuong's writing style. This is a collection of his poems. I've read some of the poems, but not all of them. So definitely need to wrap that up and finish it because I love his writing style. All My Rage by Saba Tahir. And I just soft DNF'd it because I just wasn't in the mood for it. And I honestly haven't been in the mood for it. So I don't know when I'll get to this, but we'll see. The Cartographers looked interesting, so I got it. Firekeeper's Daughter. I got this when I first got back into reading, and I was just like perusing around Barnes & Noble, and this seemed like it would be good. Haven't read it since. It's been like 4 years at this point. We have The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake, and that is the second book in the Atlas 6 series. And I read the Atlas 6 when it first came out, like when it was the indie published version. So by the time the sequel came out and everything, it had been like a couple years, I think, maybe like 1 or 2 years. And I had just completely forgotten about it and never got to the sequel. But I did pick up the sequel because I do want to continue reading the series because I do like the series, but I just have not got around to it. So we will. In this series, we definitely will. All right, you're going to see a lot more Olivia Blake in like the next couple books, but One for My Enemy. I really like Olivia Blake's writing style, so I keep buying her books. Sorry, not sorry. But I've heard nothing but great things about One for My Enemy. I think it's like a magical family, kind of like reminiscent of Romeo and Juliet. So magic family, Romeo and Juliet. Of course, I'm going to be interested. Come on now. Masters of Death. So I did start reading this like a little bit for one of the videos. I talked about it a little bit. I forget which video now, but I did start reading it. It wasn't really my vibe, so I stopped reading it. It's a soft DNF, but I will read it, especially for the series where I just go through all the physical TBR books and try to read them all. Then there's Gifted and Talented. This is the last of the Olivia Blake books that I have that I haven't read. And this is one of the Fairy Loot editions that I've gotten in the mail. So I didn't physically buy this myself at Barnes & Noble or anything, but look at that cover. Beautiful. It's also about magic and like a fucked up family. From like the way that people were describing it, it kind of sounded like Succession meets magic. So that also intrigued me. Where Sleeping Girls Lie, which is by the same author that wrote Ace of Spades. I really liked Ace of Spades a lot. So when I saw this at Barnes & Noble, I was like, yeah, I have to pick this up because why wouldn't I when I love the author's work so much? It's like a psycho thriller though. I'm pretty sure Ace of Spades was also like a YA psycho thriller, so I'm guessing it's the same thing in terms of genre at least. So that's probably why I haven't picked it up because I have not been in a thriller mood like literally anytime lately at all. Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. We all know that Octavia Butler is an icon, a legend in the literary space. I've technically read Kindred for school. It was like a required reading, but I don't remember any of it because if there's one thing about me is that for academic reading, I blocked out a lot of that. So that is why I'm trying to like reread a lot of like the classics that we read as well. But I definitely want to read Parable of the Sower. I've heard it's a little bit jarring in terms of some of the similarities with the time that it was written and the time that we're in now, which does scare me, especially as a girl with anxiety. So that's probably why I've been putting it off. But, you know, I will read it eventually. I will. Five Broken Blades by Mai Corland. I'm going to be so honest with you guys. I saw this at Fifth. I think the bookstore is called Fifth and Ave. Or no, Second and Charles. What am I saying? I saw this book at Second and Charles when I went for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, the sprayed edges of this cover, this edition of this cover is so nice. And I've heard nothing but great things about this book. Now, do I know anything about this book? No. Do I know what it's about at all? No. But I know it's fantasy. And that's all I needed. And it was a pretty good deal. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to buy it. And so here we are. A Tempest of Tea. This was on my anticipated books list, I think, for this year, or maybe it was last year. I don't quite remember. It was on an anticipated reading list that I had, and I still haven't read it. I don't know. I want to read it. I do, especially since the second book has come out, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So hopefully sooner than later. Gear Breakers. So this is a book that I saw the author marketing on TikTok like back in 2021, I think. And I was like, oh, this seems very intriguing. So I picked it up on pre-order, actually, like one of the few books that I picked up on pre-order. I was like, oh, this sounds so interesting. I want to get it. And did I read it? No. I didn't. I should. But I think one of the things that kind of made me not want to read it right away is the fact that on Goodreads, the rating isn't so great. But I really shouldn't let the Goodreads rating dictate my reading. So I will read it. I mean, all these books I will eventually read. We have A Torch Against the Night, which is the second book in An Ember in the Ashes series. I read An Ember in the Ashes like a while ago, and I just haven't gotten back into the series for some reason. And as you can see, it's been a while because I have the old covers. I do want the newer covers, but I don't want to buy it unless I know I like the series. All right, The Scorpion and the Night Blossom. This is one of the Fairy Loot books that I got. This was definitely not on my radar, but I will read it because it's fantasy. The Isles of the Gods. I saw this circulating around on Goodreads and a lot of people were raving about it, so I decided to pick it up. I forget what the website is called, but I think it's like Book Outlet or something like that. It's where like a bunch of books go on sale from time to time for like $5 each or less or a little bit more than that. So I saw it on there and I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna buy it, and I did. Okay, so we have another Fairy Loot edition book, which is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This has been on my radar because I'm pretty sure it's like sapphic vampires. I don't know if they're vampires, but they're definitely like transcending time at least. So that sounds interesting. I definitely want to revisit V.E. Schwab's writing because I know when I first started reading, I wasn't like super into it as much as everybody else. And I feel like now that I am definitely in the thick of reading instead of like just trying to get back into it, I think I might enjoy it a bit more. So definitely want to get into that. The Night and the Moth, which is by Rachel Gillig, which is also the same author as One Dark Window. I actually have this available on my Libby right now, so I am going to get to this sooner than later. I've heard the yearning in this is astronomical in the best way possible, so I am excited to get into it, but I did want to have a bit of a buffer before I got into it just because I did just finish Two Twisted Crowns and like that whole series in general, and I just, you know what I mean, like you don't want to read like too many back to back of the same author. At least for me, sometimes I just want like a little bit of a break, so I am reading another book in the meantime before I jump into The Night and the Moth, which I think this one will be included in the next episode of Physical TBR Takedown, or Read It or Unhaul It. Probably it'll be something like Libby picks what I read or something like that. I don't know. A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena, I think her name is. This is also another Fairy Loot book that I got in the mail. I have no concept of it, but look at that cover. Completely gorgeous. So I'm excited to dig into it for sure. All right, so we have Alchemized by Senlin Yu, which is the September Fairy Loot box book. And I don't think I'm going to read this anytime soon, to be quite honest with you guys. It's like 1,000+ pages, and I don't think I have the mental capacity to do that anytime soon, especially since I've read Manacled, so I know the general gist of what it's about, even though I know the author has like worked to separate it from its fanfic entity, but like still it's going to be like very dark theme, so I just don't think I want to read that anytime soon. Like maybe if it comes available on Libby at the same time, maybe, but like as of right now, I don't think I'm going to read it anytime soon. For sure. We have Catabasis, which is R.F. Kuang's newest book. I am starting to read this. Like I haven't read it yet, but I did start the reading vlog, like the intro. So I am planning to read it soon, but I do want to wrap up some of the books that I am currently reading before I get to it. So yeah, it's definitely on the horizon. Iron Widow, which has been on my physical TBR for quite some time now. Not that I'm not interested. I am. I really am interested in this book, but I just hadn't had the inkling to pick it up for some reason. I don't know. So I feel like it's going to be one of those cases where I do pick it up and I'm going to be like obsessed with it. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's like my brain trying to avoid any hyperfixations at this moment in time. I don't really know, but I definitely do want to read it. Lessons in Chemistry, which I have seen the adaptation of this book. So I know what it's about and I know how fucking sad it is. Guys, if you guys haven't watched the adaptation, I would highly recommend it. But I do now want to read the book because I thought this book was going to be like more of like a rom-com situation, and it's definitely not. Like there's definitely romance in it, but that's definitely not the core of this book. So I do want to get to it, but I've just kind of been avoiding it because I do know the heartbreak that comes with it since I have seen the adaptation. This Monster of Mine is another Fairy Loot book that I got. No context for it, of course, but will definitely still read it because I have the fantasy box and I like fantasy books. My Last Innocent Year, which I also got at the book outlet. I've heard good things about it via Goodreads, but I don't know much more outside of that. So The Power, which I've seen the trailer for this show, and I also got this for research purposes for something that I'm writing myself. Still haven't gotten around to it. Definitely should though, because I am trying to get back into that writing project. Such Lovely Skin. It's like a thriller book about streaming. So I thought that was interesting, but it's like horror/thriller, so that's why I haven't really been gravitating towards it, just because I haven't really been in the mood for that. An Emotion of Great Delight. Yeah, this is another one that I got from the book outlet and I just haven't gotten around to it. 7 Days in June. I've heard nothing but great things about it. I heard it will have me crying in the club. I just have not gotten to it. And honestly, I think it's because I think I will like it. And because of that, I'm like putting it off because I don't know. I don't know why I do this to myself. All right, we have The Sunbearer Trials and Lost in the Neverwoods, which they are both by Aidan Thomas. I really liked Aidan Thomas's writing in Cemetery Boys, so I picked these up when I saw them on the book outlet, and they are very different books, but I'm excited to give them a shot. And I believe they're both YA, if I'm not mistaken. We have Her Radiant Curse and The Dragon's Promise, which they're both by Elizabeth Lim, and I believe one or both of them are from the Six Crimson Crane book series. I'm not too sure, to be quite honest with you guys. I got them both on the book outlet because they were on sale, and I really enjoyed the Six Crimson Crane book. It was nice. I got the arc of it and I really enjoyed it a lot, but I just never got around to reading the rest of the series, so that is why I got them. And the artwork of these books are absolutely beautiful, so I'm excited to dig into it, just have not gotten around to it, unfortunately. And last but not least, we have Immortal by Sulin Tan, and this is one of, I think this might have been like the first Fairy Loot box that I've gotten when I first joined Fairy Loot, because I got off the wait list, and I literally have no context for this book, but look at the cover, very stunning, very beautiful. It's fantasy, so you know I'm still gonna read it. And I mean, that's the whole reason why I signed up for the adult fantasy box, so there's that. I think I'll like it, I don't know, but that is it. Those are all of the books that are on my physical TBR that I have not read yet so far. I believe I'm not including the comics because I am gonna reread all the comics anyway, so it doesn't really matter, and I don't think that I should be counting that towards this challenge. Anyways, with that to say, those are all the books that are on my physical TBR. I will be kickstarting the series now, so let me know if you guys have any suggestions on titles. I think I'm going to go with Read It or Unhaul It, just like everybody else, at least for the time being. So if you guys have any suggestions outside of that or similar to that, let me know. And that is it. Let me know how many physical TBR books that you guys have, any that you're looking forward to, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.